Spotlight. Today, I'm taking a selfie video as an introduction because I've got the two co-founders for Steerco right here, and they will be taking center stage for the podcast. So I'm just going to let them roll with it from here. All right, guys. Please share a little bit about both of your backgrounds.
Yeah, so my name is Will Aha. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Steerco. I went to college at ASU, mechanical engineering degree, and really loved everything that Arizona had to offer. So my family was originally from here, like several generations ago, immigrated from Spain to start a sheep herding company. So for a while, it was the largest sheep herding company in the Southwest U.S. So they ran sheep from Buckeye to Flagstaff, or actually Williams, but and then back depending on what season it was. So my family moved away to the Four Corners in Colorado to start a pinto bean farm, specifically dryland farming. So farming pinto beans is hard enough, but when you do it with no water, it's even more difficult. So my dad moved out of farming, and then we started doing horse breaking, which was like a really cool thing to watch from a young age because my dad would take Mustangs and actually break them into like domesticated horses, right? So around high school, my family decided to move back to Arizona because the rest of my family was here. And originally, I was going to go to U of A. That was like
Nobody's perfect.
I know nobody's perfect, but I was committed to U of A, and all my friends from high school were going there. I was dead set on going to U of A, and my parents tricked me into going on a tour at ASU. So they're like, "Oh, we just want to go do some college shopping and stuff," and then we went into Tempe, and it was to go take a tour. And they're like, "Just take a tour. If you don't like it, then we'll go somewhere else." Because my grandpa played football at ASU, actually. So that's the record for most interceptions in a game, which is pretty cool. So went on a tour, fell in love with ASU. I really, really wanted to be an engineer. Loved math, loved everything to do with engineering. So I started studying engineering and got to graduation and realized that I was a mediocre engineer at best. Like I looked at all the people and what they were doing and how smart they were, and it's like, that is not me. But I understand systems well enough, and I really like the business side. So I joined a Rockwell Automation. They make automation equipment, and joined their sales training program. And that was super hard. I'd never sold anything in my life before. And I got put in a sales training program, and they moved you every 6 weeks to kind of keep you uncomfortable. So I lived in Boston, I lived in Philly, I lived on Staten Island, I lived in Ohio, and I lived in Milwaukee. So I kind of jumped all over the place and really thought like, I'm going to be the corporate person. I got least likely to quit the company during our like award ceremony for leaving sales training, and I was the first person to quit the company. So it's kind of funny how that worked out. But what it came down to is that I loved what I didn't know was entrepreneurship at the time, but I loved creating things and building things and figuring out how to solve problems. And I kept getting chastised for it because I was making my own marketing documents and I was putting together sales strategies, and they said, you've got to follow the corporate model. So it just was not my thing. And I ended up having a customer that I went to work for, and it was like a complete random encounter. So I had these demo units for these controllers this company made. They're like $70,000 a piece. They're super expensive. I had two of them, Pelican cases. And in Philly, car break-ins are common. And the night before I was supposed to drop off these demos, someone broke into the car. And they stole every single thing out of the car but the demo units. Like you can tell they opened it up, they looked at it like no idea what this is. They took my boss's golf clubs, all of the pamphlets that I had. They actually were so frustrated, I think, that they just took a crowbar to the radio. So like all the buttons were popped off it, I think just to prove a point. So I went and dropped these off, and my former business partner opened the door. He was not wearing shoes. I thought I was on Punk'd, and he was like, "Hey, come on in. We need a salesperson. Do you want the job?" And I was like, "I'm just here to drop off demo units." So it was a small company. It was like 12 engineers, and he said, "Come on board, help me grow the company." So we grew it, and sometime like 2022, 2023, went through a private equity transaction, and I learned so much in this position because I didn't go to business school, and so I was on the weekends learning like how do you optimize for SG&A, how do you look at EBITDA, and how do you increase that. I was watching YouTube videos I think something that ASU really taught me was that you just got to learn with what you have available to you. So I researched everything that I could.
Sounds like a shout out to ASU.
Shout out to ASU. Yeah, shout out to ASU.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
no, big time.
A dig or a shout out?
No, it was such a good learning experience being at ASU and doing that. Because then I'm sitting here like, all right, we've got to go expand to these new pharma companies. How do I do that? And I go research ways to do it and build strategies. And it was awesome because I kind of got to create something from the ground up as far as go-to-market goes. And then I moved from that to being an operator. Now I know it's called an operator. I didn't know at the time. And learned that I love operating. Like that's I think most operators you meet will say the same thing because people that don't like operating think it's ridiculous. But I love it. I love looking at the numbers. I love figuring out patterns. I love figuring out how do we make things better. So I did that, exited the company, moved back to Arizona, really cool experience. Transactions are complex, and it was neat to sit through those, especially with sitting in the room with PE guys that have MBAs, and they'd ask me questions, and I had no idea what they were asking. So I was like, let me get back to you. And I'd have to go home and Google, like, what was that 3-letter acronym that he said, figure out, what it was, and then go back and do that. But I moved back to Arizona. I met Zach in college and reached out to him and said, we should get coffee. Let's just catch up. And then kind of rest is history from there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really very serendipitous because we met at ASU. I, too, am from Arizona. And
let's go, too. Just not to cut you off here, Zach. A lot of the people that we have on here, or even the founders that we meet in Arizona, not from Arizona.
No.
So to have two, that's why I'm like, look, cameras on both of you guys.
Yeah.
Because it's rare, honestly. So
yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
It's rare. I think we both did our walkabouts for a little while, but had to come back. So we both went to, I grew up in Arizona, grew up in Peoria in the West Valley, went to Centennial, also went to ASU. What Will didn't say is we were in the same fraternity, but we actually met before that in physics class, Gary B. Field Adams in physics. And then we both were tour guides at ASU. We loved it there.
You were tour guides?
Tour guides,
both
yeah.
Of you?
Devil's advocates, man.
That's cool,
we walked backwards in the white polos.
Wait, all of us three here, ASU undergrads then.
That's right.
Let's go.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and actually I agree with Will here that ASU gets a ton of grief for, I don't know, having a lot of people, being a super fun place to go. I had a great time there.
Yeah.
But I think I learned so much more going to ASU than a lot of my contemporaries did, later, because I got out of school. I got into a sales training program for DeWalt. I actually sold power tools in Southern California for a little while. I drove a big yellow truck. They gave me $26,000 a year, but they said, but you get a truck. And I was like, and free gas. So cool.
Say less.
And a bunch of cordless batteries. So I took that job, and then that was great. And then my wife got into grad school in Boston, and I didn't have a job in Boston, but I was like, if you got into grad school, let's go. So we left. We went to Boston. I got my first tech job at a startup. It was a sales analytics startup in Cambridge, right in the shadows of MIT. It was very, very fun. And I ran into a lot of people who went to very high-end liberal arts colleges, very, very nice, prestigious schools. Yeah. And I just outworked the hell out of them.
Let's go.
Every single one of them. Not because I was like, I got to him a hardo, but more just because that if you want to make a name for yourself at ASU, there's so many people there. You have to work hard. You have to try. You don't just get handed status. You have to go try and get it, whether you feel like it's the right thing to do or not. You have to actually go get it. So I felt like I really outworked a lot of people. I was able to grow into customer success in that position. Actually, they hired me as an account manager because this is like 2013-ish. And about 2 days later, they were like, actually, we're pivoting. You're a customer success manager. And I was like, what is that? I have no idea what that is, but please don't fire me. But I took a lot of what I learned at DeWalt on calling on accounts, understanding what they need, trying to be able to explain things in a value-first approach. So like when I was selling power tools to contractors, they really don't care if your drill has X amount of RPMs or a certain amount of foot-pounds of torque. They just want to know, can I get my job done faster? Mm-hmm. And so when I was selling and managing customers from a space that was very analytical, very complex, I was able to break through because I was able to sell to VPs of sales and talk to CEOs, because I was able to say like, oh, well, listen, you have a bottleneck here in your sales process, so let's unblock that. Rather than talking about conversion rates and outreach and all this stuff, much easier just to talk about outcomes. I ended up managing that entire CS team. That was a lot of fun. And then we moved back west. We weren't ready to come back to Arizona yet. It's still too hot. So we moved to San Diego. I worked at another startup that was based out of Berlin. And I started their North American customer success department out here. And that was a lot of fun. Got to call on accounts in San Francisco, Pacific Northwest. I was in Boston a ton. Went to Berlin every 6 months, which was super fun. Got to know a little bit more about how venture capital worked. And then I wanted to see if my skills could scale. So I joined a company called Workiva. They are a publicly traded SaaS company, and eventually grew to manage their portfolio of enterprise customers that was worth about $200 million a year and about 40 people. And ultimately what happened was we hit a huge bottleneck. The team I was managing was supposed to be high touch, and they could not touch every single account the way we needed to, because the amount of prep work that it took hours and days and weeks of really monotonous data gathering and font resizing in slides. And, in my mind, I was like, there's just got to be a better way. And so I sketched out a few ideas. Will reached out and was like, hey, let's get coffee. And I was like, hey, I've got this really dumb idea. Do you want to see it? It's like the first time we got coffee after not talking for like 11 or 12 years for no other reason than just like life got in the way. We sit down and I'm like, hey, I want to tell you about this idea. And on our way back to the car, you were kind of quiet. And then we got to the car and you said, I really think you should pursue this. And then from there, we started Steerco.
Yep.
A couple of things there that you both mentioned. First of all, great stories and backgrounds, right? Amazing. It's how you went about those stories and backgrounds that I think is really relatable to a lot of people that operate nowadays. I think something that you see on the news or in modern tech pop culture, if you want to call it that, is you need to be a specialist in something, an expert at XYZ thing. But more and more on LinkedIn, is something I've seen at least, is that a lot of the founders and operators that are phenomenal, they come from like the scrappiest, non-traditional backgrounds. And there's more and more of them, so it doesn't beg the question, but it's maybe shining a light on, have the best operators always been specialists, or have they been from different backgrounds? For myself, right, I worked in construction and then marketing, and then I did door-to-door sales. And then I was a VC, and then now I'm a chief of staff, which is a different type of operations at the startup I'm at. And just hearing your guys' backgrounds from like drill sales, it's very different, so it's cool to see how a lot of that kind of comes full circle. I heard someone say, more or less, right, that doing that prepares you perfectly to be a founder because you've seen fire burn from so many different ways and angles. And so just thought it was cool to notice that. And the other one was, that's something we believe at Inked Greetings as well. If you outwork anyone else, you're probably better than someone that went to a pedigree named school or ex-Google, ex-Meta. And I believe that with all my heart. I've seen it, right? I like to say that when I was a VC, I wasn't any terribly smarter than, being at NYU than I was at community college. So if you just put in the work, put in the hours, right? You were mentioning, Will, that you would go to YouTube, look up what CAC meant, just different terms. If you put in the work, you can pretty much have some sort of good success in the world of tech.
Yeah, but the one thing that I have to respect about being in these different markets is, and we were kind of alluding to it when we walked in, is there's a great network out there. So when you come from these really prestigious schools, you may not have this innate, PTSD where you have to work. Otherwise, you will just like be left behind. But you do come out with an incredible network of really talented, really smart, high-levered people. And that was one thing that I will tell you that I recognized very quickly coming from Arizona that I did not have.
Yep.
Yeah, I very controversially say that. Look, I love ASU. Love everything that I did. Community college was phenomenal. Top 10 or bust. Top 10 schools are bust for my kids. Just the amount of life-changing generational wealth / network that a kid created at 18 years old. I just can't get that out of my head, right? I mean, I went to NYU. 1 week later, they say, do you want to help the venture team? Where in any other world does that happen? Like, my the rest of my lineage has changed just because I went to that dumb grad school. So 100% agree on that sentiment.
Yeah, that experience, one of the people we were meeting with, obviously it came from a very wealthy background, and they were talking about the G6 that they're going to be taking their vacation the next weekend, and I thought they meant a Pontiac G6. Like, I didn't know the Gulfstream G6 was a thing, so I was like, I didn't, that's cool, but you drove in a better car than what you're going to take there this week. And I just had no idea. And meanwhile, it put together, like you mentioned, learning as an operator and that prepares you to be a founder, is early on in my previous company, I was doing sales strategy, but I was also changing the toilet paper, and I was also moving server racks. And it prepped you for the part of being a founder where it's like, if you don't do it, then it's not going to get done. And I think that was the biggest thing.
Oh my gosh, being a founder is so unglorious. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of stuff in media right now of like, oh, as a tech founder, and it's like, man, the amount of stuff that we have to do that you don't think about. That it's like, just like when we burned our domain on accident. We started prospecting out of our main domain at first when we started Steerco. And we had no idea. We were getting so much traction, and then all of a sudden it was crickets, and then we got 0 opens and no clicks and no responses. And we're like, what the heck just happened? And we went through days of trying to figure out how do we unburn this domain before we just started a new one.
Really?
Yeah, so www.getsteerco.com. That's the new one.
We just had a baby, and so my wife was in across the house, and I kept yelling at her like, I sent the email, did you get it? And she's like, no, I still didn't get anything, because we were trying to figure out what was going on. Yeah. So we figured out it was burned.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was a fun learning experience.
Yeah. On that matter of Steerco, guys, please, what are you guys building? Please brag to the world. What's going on?
We are an AI tool that ultimately automates your presentations that you need to build. We also automate your success plans that you need to build when you're working towards customers or working with customers. And anytime you've ever gotten that question from a boss, hey, how's Acme Inc. doing? And you feel this like anxiety run up your spine. We created a button. When you click it, it pulls together all of the relevant information that you have had with that customer, as well as all publicly available information, puts it into a nice, presentable one-sheeter for you to send to your boss, and then you can both have a nice, equal conversation. You don't have to stress anymore.
So, yeah, it sounds like you really had some traumatic moments there as a customer success
oh my
manager.
Goodness. I mean, to be honest, like I said in my intro, a lot of the idea for this company was born out of the frustrations I was having in the role. I mean, I was managing people, and we weren't able to hire anymore. Right? It was just like, okay, we can't hire anymore, but we need you to be a high touch team. And oh, by the way, we're going to continue to add portfolio responsibility on everyone's plate. And it just got to a point where, AI was just coming up when these OKRs were coming down from the board. And we ultimately, I said, okay, well, let's start using ChatGPT, Gemini, let's start leveraging these things. And the company really shut it off. They're like, you can't use free AI. We don't know what's going on with it. It also wasn't much faster at the time than what we were doing because my team didn't know how to prompt engineer or anything like that. So it was all brand new. And so what we really developed Steerco out of a lot of my own personal frustrations, not only because my team couldn't do enough. They were spending too much time editing slides and trying to document success plans and all the minutia I didn't hire them to do. I hired smart, charismatic people to go build relationships with customers. I want them to go do that. Yeah. I don't want them to be building this documentation, pulling in data, having to listen to reading earnings call transcripts about their customer. I want them just to have that so they can go and be their best self. And so ultimately we developed Steerco as a response to that. We launched about 5-6 weeks ago, and turns out a lot of people have that frustration. We've generated quite a bit of inbound interest. We've got about $1.5 million in pipeline. And we're learning on the fly right now what it's like to try and close business very quickly.
Congrats! That's amazing.
Yeah. I think the great thing about AI right now, and I think we represent kind of a new age of startup that's embracing this idea that AI is looked at as binary. It's either replaces people or it doesn't. And I think we looked at it as or it just takes away the most tedious part of your job. It doesn't replace that portion. It just makes it better. And I think it's restructuring how GTM teams operate, because I still remember one of the things that pushed me to leave the first company I worked for is sales were really badly down. I mean, really, really badly down. And their solution to that was to pull everyone off the road for a week to sit in a room and talk about how sales were down. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, we should just go out and sell more, right? And that's what I think is great, is AI's in a place right now where you can really switch. Our developer was talking about how we're doing for customer success what Cursor does for him, whereas he used to spend 80% of his time coding and 20% thinking, and now he can spend 80% of his time thinking and strategizing and then 20% coding. And there's this kind of misalignment in customer success between what you get compensated for and what you actually do. So my wife's a customer success manager, also great beta tester for Steerco, and she gets compensated to grow contracts, increase renewal rate, upsell, but she spends most of her time doing admin work and making presentations and fixing fonts on presentations and fixing what comes from the outsourced ops team. And this helps align more like, okay, I get paid to do this expansion. This tool helps automate all that stuff that doesn't align with that. Now I can just go and expand.
And what's been crazy in this journey too is we're learning that this frustration that we have obviously is felt across the industry, but also people have been trying to solve it through other means. So when we've been talking to prospects, they've been telling us, oh, we outsource this to our ops team. They actually build all of our QBR decks for us so our CSMs can go do the thing. But the ops team doesn't really know the customer very well. So the deck ends up being 40% done, and okay, thanks, you saved a little bit of time. We have a prospect right now that just came in the pipeline that said they spend millions of dollars a year sending all of their decks overseas to India. And the people, they have contractors in India that build the decks. They bring them back. It's like a 5-day cycle rate where, like, when they send it over, the company sits down, looks at the deck. It's like 50 slides. It's crazy long. They look at the deck. They're like, the narrative's wrong, or you didn't pull this data right, or this data's whatever. They send it back. 5 days later, India sends it over. We demoed our software, and they said, wait, so I can do 5 QBRs for the same company, 5 different revisions before I'm done with my coffee? I said, yeah, you can. And they said, this is incredible. Yeah. So now it really does start to take the tedious work out of the job, and we keep talking about how, like, this job's gonna be fun. Like, I can already tell people are gonna want to be CSMs again because they don't have to do this monotony. They just get to go have fun with customers, talk to them, build relationships. And
yeah, you see it in our customer base already. I mean, there's people that are talking about QBRs used to be this check the box thing. Like, you got to have a slide that has executive summary, and you got to present the data usage from last month. And that's actually turning into, how do we use this QBR to expand our business, or at the bare minimum showcase what we're already doing for them? And that's been a really, really cool thing to see.
Yeah. It sounds really cool just because, I mean, from my end, I'm not a CMS, right? CSM, Customer Success Manager, but working at Inked Greetings and then running a nonprofit in the evening, there's so many emails that I have to answer, so many texts, so many LinkedIn messages, and it's my biggest curse, just organizing everything to who said what and where, and the report of how this project is coming along has been such a pain.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any solutions, like, for the individual user, or is it mostly right now?
Yeah, no,
let's go.
So both individual users and teams, but that functionality is something that we built into it because we talked about this pain point, and specific to customer success organizations, there's not a lot of overlap between sales and customer success. So what ends up happening is your salesperson sells something to the customer, throws it over the fence to customer success and says, now support it. And you've got to figure out what was sold and how do we align it. Yeah. So when we were talking about what do we do to fix that, one of the things that's built into it is you can just take a call transcript, even if you weren't on that call, and throw it in there along with emails that you're talking about. And then it'll generate, well, here's what success looks like. So they met with the salesperson. This is what they said success looks like. Here's what you should be driving towards. So all of that automation was built into it. And that part is really tough to do. And that's one of the coolest things about it.
And it's free for individual users. Yeah. So what he just talked about is free for individual users. We believe so passionately that CSMs are overlooked. I had a boss once that said CSMs live at the end of the chevron. So if you know what a chevron looks like, it's like that. So CSMs live at the end of the chevron. What that means is, like, poop rolls downhill, right? And so CSMs always get the end of it, and we think that a free tool like this for them can really help. Now, you don't get everything,
right,
to build QBRs. with like your own marketing approved deck. You have to be on an enterprise license. And there are other features that are gated as long as you're on a team.
Yeah.
But for the individual user, you can get in there, start uploading data, and you can set up your portfolio. We've got a really sleek interface that allows you to really impress your boss, to be honest. And you can have it generated quietly and discreetly without having to say you use like a free AI tool. You can just use us.
I mean, I use it. I use it for.
I'm gonna check it out tonight.
Yeah. So when we're going after prospects, I throw the company into our tool because it tells me like, oh, something we learned recently, RAMP is being investigated by Congress. I had no idea until I threw it into the tool and was like, oh yeah, shut up. But stuff like that, like you just, it's cool to have built something that then like I use myself, you know.
Yeah. The reason I had brought it up, right? It's not because also it's annoying because yes, that's probably the biggest pain point for me personally. But I like the meetings I have with people. Like I take people out to dinners or
it's great.
Like, that's
the fun part.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. The not fun part is when I drive home 25 minutes and then I have to get on my computer, log in all the notes or whatever, and then just keep track of that. So that's more problems than one are being solved for me here.
It really, the way we've been talking about it is, there's this big conversation happening in the zeitgeist right now. Is AI going to replace workers? And I think we're starting to find yet again the answer is very much in the middle. It's just going to be able to really increase productivity and make your life so much more enjoyable. And we're finding that right now with what we're developing, that all the stuff you didn't like doing, there's now technology that just does it for you, right? And this is where our job gets really fun. It's what we wake up every morning getting really excited to talk to people about, because it's just really cool. We get to be on the bleeding edge of really where this technology is going. And there's a lot of legacy incumbents right now that are treating it as this alien life form, and they're trying to shove AI down into like a legacy product. Yeah. And they really don't understand. It's proof. It's actually proving that they really don't understand their end users. They understand their buyers really well. They get what VPs and C-suite executives want, and it's dashboards and analytics. But they have no idea what the actual user has to go through. The end user, the stakeholder, has to go through on a daily basis.
This is juicy because my next question was going to be, which I didn't think I needed an answer, but I think you're setting it up very well. What are people just not getting about Steerco? Why is it a must-have right now? I know you've provided a lot of context in pieces. If you could put it into one paragraph, what does that look like? I feel like you were just going there right now, so let's highlight it.
Yeah, I think that everyone has been focused on the executive use case. Everyone's focused on your boss. No one's focused on you. And this is the first time that the technology that's coming out is already geared towards you already. And there's a more of a conversation in a lot of these companies saying, don't use it unless we vetted it. Don't, they're scared of it. But truthfully, this is going to make your life a lot easier. And I have said, I think we can create the 4-day work week for go-to-market professionals, where in the past people would be like, well, there's a 4-day work week is great for people in the back office, but anyone in the front office never going to have a 4-day work week because there's just so much you got to do with customers. Yeah. And I really think what we're starting is that revolution where people are going to be able to do way more work, way more efficiently, way better, and they're going to be able to do it in 20% less time.
Love that you gave us a clippable moment right there. Creating the 4-day work week for an entirely new workforce.
That's right. It's happening.
Yeah, I think the thing. So you went macro, I'll go micro. I think something that people are missing is that our platform builds the deck too. So people, I've been on a couple demos where they think I pre-made the PowerPoint deck and then show it to them, but we build the deck too. And I think one thing we did is you don't need to be a prompt engineer to use the platform. It feels like a SaaS platform. You hit a button, something happens. All of that stuff's happening automatically. So I think that's the I'll go micro and say the two things people miss is yes, we build the deck too, and all of that stuff that's happening automatically, it's because the software kind of anticipates what it is that you want and then just provides it to you.
And it uses our history of, your history of sales, my history in CS, and we've basically programmed our work experience and the experience of a lot of people in this industry into the platform. So we're getting a lot of people that come to us, and when we say, yeah, we build your QBR decks for you, they're like, great. And then they meet it and they're like, I didn't realize you built my QBR deck for me. Like they like I said the words, and because it's just so intuitive, it can't possibly be true. I'm overselling it when I say those words. But then we show it to them on a demo and they are flabbergasted. They're like, you just saved me a day in a conference room by myself by pressing one button. And that's a good feeling. That's a really good feeling.
That's awesome. I love that you went micro, macro, because then whoever needs that use case just heard it from, mouths of the co-founders.
Yeah.
Love that you guys are from Arizona and that you're building in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
That said, what could Arizona do better?
You want to start?
Ooh, both looked at each other at the same time.
We got some hot takes.
We got some hot
Right,
takes.
we got some hot takes here.
Let's burn ourselves. Come on,
Yeah.
let's hear 'em.
I would say that there's a mismatch between what is shown publicly about Arizona and what actually happens being a founder here. And I think that part's really difficult. So when I moved back to Arizona, part of the reason I moved back is because I wanted to do something here. I mean, I left the state because there wasn't anything for me in what I wanted to do. And I wanted to come back and, maverick my way into doing something like that. And there's all of this publicity around. It's very founder friendly and there's an ecosystem of funding and there's all this help available. And then what it felt like is that those were just nice little clips for LinkedIn. So there's a lot of things that happen, like whether it's funding or whether it's you get a no for a funding and then the follow-up of, hey, if you need any help outside of this, let us know, and respond back and said, actually, yes, you could help us with this. We just want to run it by you. And then you don't get a response. So it can be a little frustrating to the point that I think in some ways it set a cap for what maybe we thought was possible initially. Because then the second that we expanded the search outside of Arizona funding wise, then all of a sudden we've got a dozen meetings lined up, and so I think that mismatch could use a little bit of work.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing too. I'll be a little bit generous to Arizona here in that it's really small. The venture community is really small, but there's no shortage of startups here.
No.
Right? And, the issue is there's a lot of startups that really want to do something special and something really big. And I'm talking to some really cool founders right now. I believe you just had, the CTO from Ruck on. They're doing some really cool stuff over there. And every time I tell other teams in other states, like who we were talking to about Ruck and what they do, and I do the one-liner for them, they're blown away. They're like, that's coming out of Arizona? And I'm like, yeah, it's incredible. And the issue is if you want to build something big and you want to do something special, you can try to bootstrap it, but it's going to take a really long time. Lean startup works for a little while, but, people catch up. There's a lot of very heavily resourced companies out there that will copycat and take and they have an embedded customer base they can upsell to. I know I was at a big company where we saw somebody doing something. We're like, let's just upsell this company. So I think it's tough when Arizona's venture community is small, but by the same token, it's hard to say the venture community should grow when we don't have a lot of data points to say, hey, bring more money here. So, you and I, we had to go outside the valley, and we went over to Silicon Valley to get our first VC check. And that's great because I think it's just going to bring more eyeballs to Arizona. And if we can bring more success stories into Arizona and stay here and be here and be present and show that if you bring the right capital and you'll have the right success, there will be more venture funding that happens. And I think we can be the pioneers that help that. And, the guys like at Ruck and there's at Inked, I think there's really good stuff coming out of Arizona. And I think if we can succeed, then venture money will follow. But I think it's very much proven venture money is not going to be the thing that leads.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I would say founders should definitely stay here. I know there's
100% founders should stay.
I love Arizona. I have the Saguaro cactus tattooed on my arm just out of my love for it. But I think staying here, there's some stuff to be caught up with the funding, which you explained really well, but it's extremely founder friendly as far as talent pools and cost of living and just about everything that you could want for starting a company is here. Like I have no desire to leave because I love it so much.
There is no shortage of grit here. That is the best thing.
Yes.
We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier about being from ASU and learning that you really have to work hard to stand out. Arizona is one of these places where people just know you have to work. It is just a thing that you have here, and everyone's
work to survive in the suburbs. That teaches.
My goodness, I know. I wore jeans today. It's 110. It was I thought that was more professional. But I think it's just the talent pool is not only incredibly smart. It's growing by the day because of just how affordable it is to live here. And man, does everyone here want to work. And that is the funnest part about being in Arizona is everyone I talk to just can't wait to keep working. Yeah. And that's cool. It's cool to be around.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that, not just because I like to agree with that, but because all of the founders that we have had on this podcast that are from Arizona, they're just dying to see it win. They're dying to say, look, I'm from here. I can show the grit that I've got. I'm going to build here, and I'm going to be stubborn enough to stay around after we've made it.
Yeah.
And every single founder that's from here, from Arizona, like Inked, Luke, you guys from Emblem P, Luke Oshenbraun, right? Just 3 examples. I'm sure we've had more. But each of them being from Arizona, they're just like, we're going to stay. We're going to prove everyone wrong. And then it's a flywheel, right? Yeah. If one person comes, then you give back, and then more come, and then pretty soon, it's my opinion that we can definitely be a national tech powerhouse, which is
100%.
kind of the whole point of Silicon Oasis, honestly. But it's going to take a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to make it happen.
Yeah, and shout out to Matt Sherman. I don't know if you've talked to him before, but that guy...
He's been at it for a while here.
He has believed in Arizona's venture community and startup community, I think, longer than anyone I've ever known.
Yeah.
And it's been very fun. Man, nothing phases that guy. He is so steadfast.
I could be wrong, but I think it's been like 10 plus years.
Yeah.
It's nuts. No, yeah. He's one of the...
He's an OG.
I give constant shout outs to a lot of the community pillars around here, you like to call them, right? There's examples of people like Matt, phenomenal, right? Don Foch, who has his Arizona. Everyone that's kind of just making an effort now. We're really just trying to put a spotlight on and push forward because they deserve their roses. Like they deserve their flowers for trying so long and for, so hard.
No, I appreciate the work you're doing there too. I mean, the magazine you're putting out, just subscribe to that. So if you want to see in print stuff happening in Arizona, I definitely recommend you subscribe to that. But even the digital one, I mean, you're doing really good work shining that spotlight. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. Honestly, thanks to you guys. Everyone that comes on the podcast is willing to have that spotlight. That's what it's for. We're a broken record. We don't charge anyone. We don't take equity. Yeah. But Arizona, I'm from here. I have 2 kids here, a 5-year-old, a 5-month-old. You guys have kids too, which is really rare in tech, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed that. So
I think us having kids has made us better founders. 100%. We've said this a million times. Yeah. Being married has made me a better coworker. Being a dad has made me a better founder and a better manager. Priorities are in the right place. Yep. You don't get as upset when you have to explain things in a different way. You can deal with temper tantrums. You can have temper tantrums. I think that, it's absolutely made me better.
I could have done timing a little bit better. I mean,
we started, went full time, and then you had your newborn days later.
That's funny.
Yeah, that was
for me. It's been everything's intentional. Not that it wasn't before.
Yeah.
But every minute, it's like, look, if you're gonna focus on a startup, and you're gonna spend time away from your kids, make it count.
Yep.
If I'm not gonna be spending time with my 5-year-old playing monster trucks, I gotta make it count. And then when you're with him, you make it count. And then when with your wife, you make. So for me, it's been very cool to see just how intentional I am about every second of every day. Even if I'll scroll Twitter now and then.
So. Oh, you deserve a little bit of that, but you're totally right. The time boxing element becomes much more important when you have other people to worry about. Mm-hmm. And also, by the way, I don't chase the status as a founder or a CEO like other CEOs I've met before do, because my kids just do not care.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have a great day. We'll get in some really good conversations. We had Zoom came inbound to us and is evaluating us as as a potential customer, which is incredible. And I was stoked. I went downstairs after we work remote some days, and I went downstairs to tell my wife and kids. And one kid's crying, the other one just wants dinner. My oldest, my 7-year-old, is like, "That's cool. Can we go swimming?" And it's like, just does not care. Man, if you want to get put in your place about like what is really important in this world, holy moly, it's so great. It forces you to be present. That's for sure.
I appreciate my wife. I'll say that. Yeah. Sometimes I'll be like, look, we just landed another sponsor. She's like, she'll be interested, and it's like she's breastfeeding, and it's like, oh, you look exhausted. Yeah, and I'm sitting here, bragging about so very supportive partners are awesome as well. We've got to give a shout out to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there's been several nights that I'm slacking Zach and we're in bed and she's like, "Is that your work wife?" I'm like, "Yes, it is. Thank you for understanding."
Yeah.
Sam knows I'm texting you because I'm always like, I would be remiss if I didn't end this by saying, listen, if you want to start automating your QBR prep, your success plans, your executive summaries, company research, go to getsteerco.com, try it for free. You just got to log in with your email. That's it. And then you can start creating your portfolio and impressing your boss, and maybe only working 4 days a week, and your boss will wonder why.
And as soon as you sign up, I'll set up 3-year accounts for you.
Yeah, you actually have a unique opportunity right now to work directly with the founders before we start hiring like crazy, because we're about to close a round of funding.
Let's go.
So if you want to boss us around a little bit and give us a bunch of really unfettered feedback, now's the time.
You guys are definitely experienced at the podcasts. My last question was going to be any last comments and or concerns that
I'll do it again.
share?
Go to getsteerco.com.
Yeah, and where can people find you? Is it Instagram as well, LinkedIn?
Yeah. Steerco Analytics on Instagram. You can follow me, Founder Zach. I'm putting stuff out there. LinkedIn, I'm all over the place. So feel free to follow any of those channels. Getsteerco.com. Zach at getsteerco.com is my email. He's Will at getsteerco.com. And then I'm pretty sure my phone number is just plastered all over the internet. So feel free to call me or text me. If you want to help build what we're building too, please let me know, because we need people who have that grit.
Yep.
I
tenacity.
get inbounds all the time on people looking for tech jobs in the Valley.
Send them my way.
I'm
dead serious.
I'm being dead serious.
Yeah.
Guys, this was such an amazing episode. Thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate your time. And
Thank you so much. You did a great job. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone, that's it for this edition of the Silicon Oasis Spotlight, and we'll catch you next time.